If I say, let me tell you something, compared to me saying, let me show you something, it lands totally different to the listener. I've suddenly gone from head to head and more heart to heart, yeah? It is really, really great to see you guys here as well. Just do me a favour, just turn to the person next to you. Do this for me, yeah? Just turn to the person next to you and just say, thanks for being the best looking person in the room. Come on, do it for me. Come on, do it for me, yeah. Why not? So as you can see, I've got a story, and I think we've all got stories, but what we know about stories is actually stories can actually impact and influence another human being. You know, and ultimately what we're now seeing, particularly with AI and machine learning and the like, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of knowledge out there and a lot of information. And look, that will certainly connect with us, and it'll inform us. It'll inform our logic. But the reality is, if you truly want to influence someone, if you truly want to get them across the line, we must learn how to evoke emotion. So today I'm actually going to start, first of all, with sharing with you a little bit more about my own personal story. I actually call it how we can all bounce forward instead of bouncing back. And we've all heard of this term, bounce back. Look how we're bouncing back from our crises, how we're bouncing back even right now from this COVID. But the reality is, it's not about how we used to be back in 2019, early 2020. It's actually about learning from the last 2 years and actually bouncing forward into what we can become. And I think we've all learnt how to bounce forward in our own personal struggles, but also right now we're all learning how to bounce forward in our professional lives as well. And what does the future look like, and how can we create that together? So I'm actually first of all going to start with a word that I love. And it's this word, the word decision. Get this. The word decision comes from the Latin word decidere, incision. Get this. Scission means to cut. That's what we know, yeah, decision. Scission means to cut. And get this, the word decide, decide. Suicide, pesticide. The word side means to kill. So get this, the word decision means to cut off and kill. Now I believe that the world lacks leaders that make decisions. Why? Because we love keeping our options open. We love sitting on the fence. But you know what's really interesting? I believe that the world will actually reward those people that are making decisions now in order for a brighter future for tomorrow. And in saying that, I actually then wanted to start off with my very first story. I made this decision. In hindsight, it was a bit of a naughty, cheeky decision. I think we've all done that. But a few years ago, I won this award, Young Australian of the Year. It was the highest honour of any Australian. And they flew me from Tasmania through to Canberra, the capital of Australia. I'm about to meet the Australian Prime Minister, yeah, Kevin Rudd, at the time. But I'm thinking to myself, what can I do in order for the Australian Prime Minister to remember me? Because as you guys know, PMs probably meet hundreds of people every day as if they remember everyone that they meet. And I've always wanted to be that person that stands out, making sure that people remember that moment that they met me. So I had one of my prosthetic arms on, yeah? So I've got different type of prosthetic arms. I've actually got 8 arms all up. How many arms do you have? So anyway, I've got a flipper, for swimming. I've got a bionic arm. It's like the world's most advanced bionic arm. It's worth over 120,000 US, and I program it with my iPhone 12. It's awesome. Like it works via. They've got 7 motors in it. Works via Wi-Fi. Bluetooth. Actually, get this. If you downloaded the app, you could control my hand. Anyway, so I was wearing a cosmetic arm on the day that I was meeting the Prime Minister of Australia at the lodge in Canberra on Australia Day. Now, my cosmetic arm looks exactly the same as my normal hand. So if I wore a long sleeve jacket on, which I was on the day, you can't notice at all that I've got a prosthetic. Anyway, so I walked up to the Prime Minister of Australia, all these celebrities were there, World's TV was there, and I went up to him to shake his hand. Obviously he didn't notice at all that I had a prosthetic arm. As he went to shake my hand, I detached my hand and my hand came off into his hand. And so, the world's media came in, taking photos, everything like this. The Prime Minister of Australia is just standing there holding my hand like this, right? And in his Australia Day speech, the Prime Minister of Australia, he said this. He said, look, today we're surrounded by very significant Australians. We've got Aboriginal leaders, sports heroes, but nothing can ever beat the intro I had to Sam this morning. Because when you meet Sam, it's an extraordinary experience. Because when you shake his hand, he'll leave his hand in your hand. And the Prime Minister of Australia, in his Australia Day speech, then looked over to me and he goes, and thanks, Sam, I'm still recovering from therapy today. I wanted to give you some actual evidence that this really did happen. So as you can see, there's Adam Gilchrist, a famous cricketer, and there's even the PM's wife, Therese. She's just cracking up laughing, right? And the Prime Minister of Australia is just handing me back my hand. It was certainly a very funny moment, that's for sure. But I think we all have moments in our life, yeah? Moments can be hilarious, quite funny, but then we have other moments that can be quite life-defining and life-challenging. My moment was a few years ago. I had a major car accident. It was my fault. At the time I was working for the Australian federal government as a youth futurist, so basically predicting trends when it came to young people from that smoother transition from school to either further education, training or employment. They gave me a big company car and I was driving along, and for those people that have driven in places like Australia, there's long straight open roads, like literally you've got 100 kilometres and there's not a single corner on that road, and then there's hardly any traffic at all. And so I just had my car on cruise control, and as I was driving I actually fell asleep. I was then told I veered over the other side of the road, and it was actually a 206 kilometre head-on collision with a semi-trailer truck. It was my fault. I fell asleep. Obviously, my arm was ripped off there at the accident. Entire right side of my body was completely shattered. 6 broken ribs, lacerated liver, punctured kidney. Both my lungs had collapsed. And basically, I remember I woke up then being on life support. And then my family then told me what had happened, that I'd actually had this major accident and I'd lost my arm. But I was in a state of denial. I'm thinking, this hasn't happened to me, it's okay. I mean, this really bad nightmare, it's going to end soon. Actually, it even takes me back to, even there in March when COVID sort of happens. At first I was in denial. It's going to pass over, everything's going to be fine. And so here I am waking up on life support and I'm thinking, no, I'm just in this really bad movie. It's going to end soon. I'm in this really bad nightmare. It's going to finish. For 2 days, I was in a complete and utter state of denial. And then realising what had happened, I remember going through pillow after pillow just simply from my tears. But not because I was sad for myself. I was more sad that my kids, my daughter, would actually grow up with a disabled father. I remember my daughter, she came into the hospital room and tears were just running down my face. She jumped up on the bed and she goes, Daddy, 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 did you have a car accident? And I said, yeah, I had a car accident. And she goes, and Daddy, Daddy, did you lose your arm in the accident? And I said, yeah, I lost it. I lost my arm. And she goes, and Daddy, Daddy, the doctors, they couldn't find it anywhere? She literally thought they just had to find my arm and sticky tape fixes everything, Daddy. But my kids have never said, Dad, I wish. Dad, I wish I had 2 arms. They've never said it. My son, he was actually born about 2 years after I had my car accident. And, I actually had some major issues all over my body. And when my surgeon, actually it's quite funny, when my surgeon found out that that my wife was pregnant, he came up to me and he goes, and Sam, you did lose a lot of things, but it's a good thing something still works. Anyway, so... So it was really interesting, my whole rehabilitation team, their entire focus for me was to get me back to that same job. Back to that same working environment. Back to as close as they can to what my life was before my accident. But something had changed, right? Not only physically, but also emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. I was no longer focused to be that person that I used to be. And a lot of the time we look at the good old days, how things used to be. But for me, it's actually more about, learning from this crisis, learning from what's going on here, and actually then bouncing forward into what we can become. So I'm going to give you three things that I bounce forward in to really help you on your own journey, whatever you're navigating right now. It might be in your personal life, it might be in your professional life, because ultimately, on the back of these three things is actually what I've now built in Speakers Institute group of companies. Speakers Institute Corporate is one of the companies that I've now founded. So let's have a very, very quick look. Oh, very, very quickly, I just really wanted to share this word with you. And if you like, you can write this down. One of the most fascinating words in my life. And it's the word kairos. Get this. Kairos is the Greek word for time. So contrasting to chronos or chronological time, meaning ordinary or normal time, kairos time is laden with meaning and choice. So get this, the dictionary meaning of the word kairos is a moment within a moment. I love that. A specific moment where drastic change takes place. It's like that sliding doors, yeah? And in most cases, if you look at those moments, those kairos moments when you might have met your partner, those kairos moments where you might have actually seen a job advertisement and now all of a sudden you're working for the company 10 years later. That kairos moment when actually someone encouraged you to do something and now that's totally changed your life. And I think we all have these kairos moments in our life, and that certainly was a very significant kairos moment for me when someone came up to me after my car accident and they said, "Sam, can you come and share your story at our school?" Now, I didn't even know anything at all about speaking, personal development, coaching, training at all. I was a government worker. But a kairos moment was when someone asked me, "Sam, come and share your story." I was still in a wheelchair. "Come and share your story of your car accident at our school." And then the rest was history. Over the next few years, I then learnt this very first thing that I wanted to share with you, and it's this. I needed to learn how to master communication for influence. The best way how I could do that is, yes, get a coach, get a mentor, and then get quality feedback. And one thing now we've found in our entire curriculum here in Speakers Institute group of companies is our trump card is actually the way that we give feedback. If you want to upgrade this number one skill set on the planet, what is it? It's actually speaking in front of people. Yeah? So what we know is you do any Google search, the number one skill set on the planet is actually communication and speaking in front of people. You cannot learn it by observing. You can't learn it by looking at a screen, writing things down. The fastest and surest way that you can learn this is by you actually speaking and then someone gives you quality feedback. Most of our events are created and designed exactly that way. That's why we've actually seen phenomenal growth in our group of companies, because that is the core essence of what we do. So all of our students now get massive breakthroughs in how they communicate with confidence and with certainty and to influence other people. Why? Because we've now learned the actual secret formula into teaching people how to master communication for influence. The second thing I learned is very, very, very quickly, there's two key areas of communication. What we know is the content, what we say, and then the second thing here is the methodology, how we say it. Now, the content, what we say, is the easy part. These are the words that we say, and the majority of our preparation at the moment, where we spend our preparation whenever we are presenting, is in the content, what we say. But what we now know is it's not necessarily just about the content, what we say. It depends what research you look at, but at the moment it's anywhere between 20 to 30% of the influence and impact to the listener is actually the content, what we say, the words that we say, which then begs the question, the methodology, how we say it, is up to 80% of the influence and impact to the listener. And that's everything from what you've already heard here today. All right, second thing I needed to learn here is this, is story showing trumps information. Now, we've all heard of storytelling, and I think what we do know about story is one of the key, that's how human beings are hardwired, isn't it? We're hardwired through narrative. That's why we love reading a novel, going to the movies. Stories have been shared through generation after generation, all the way since the beginning of time. That's how us human beings are hardwired, through narrative, yeah? Though my encouragement to you, if you really want to win someone's attention, and we've already spoken about our attention spans. If you really want to win someone's attention, share with them a powerful story. Now, my encouragement to you is share that story from a place of vulnerability. The word vulnerability comes from the Latin word vulnerabilius, which actually means an open wound. And so instead of you showing that you've got it all together, open a wound and say, hey, look, I've actually failed a few times in this, but I've learned how to navigate that. Let me share with you. That's the essence of story, really. And so I actually, though, believe that there is a difference between storytelling and story showing. Let me very quickly share this with you. An average storyteller will inform. That's where a lot of education stops. Teachers have been taught how to inform their students, whereas a good storyteller will persuade. Salespeople have been taught how to persuade their customers and their clients, whereas a great storyteller will inspire. I love inspiration, I go to the latest Marvel movie, watch Spider-Man, and I'm inspired by that. That's awesome. But then I walk out of the room to my ordinary, everyday, busy life, and I forget about that moment. Inspiration doesn't last. They say inspiration is like having a shower. You need it every day, yeah? So one thing that needs to happen is there needs to be a shift. And the shift we started to see around 10 years ago, everyone started to talk about visual storytelling. We did, didn't we? We said, let's use more images, let's use more videos. But the reality is we're still using this word tell. And we're sick and tired of people telling us what to do. We are, aren't we? Our parents tell us what to do. At school, our teachers tell us what to do. In the workplace, our boss tells us what to do. And now we're meant to be storytellers. But if I say, let me tell you something, compared to me saying, let me show you something, it lands totally different to the listener. I've suddenly gone from head to head and more heart to heart, which then begs the question, an excellent story show will transform. What's transformation? Transformation means I've been informed, persuaded, inspired, but now I'm ready to take action. Now you've actually influenced them. But this isn't necessarily the tipping point. The tipping point is what we call transcendence. Have you noticed those times when you're hearing an amazing story, a true story, you're transcended in that moment? It's like an outer body experience. Have you noticed? It's like a sense of timelessness. You even forget where you are in that moment. And I believe the greatest story showers can transcend our thinking. And we now believe that we can teach this to other people. All right, third thing that I learned is this: people follow people. This is a really cool one, and this is actually based on my latest book, which was released last year. It's called People Follow People, and most of my books are published by Wiley, which is the largest business book publishing house in the world. But the theory is this: we now believe that we're living in a season of the profile economy, where, again, people follow people. If you look at just 5 years ago and look at all the various social medias, over thousands and thousands of followers, what we've found is this, is that just 5 years ago, in the top 1,000, 50% of them were human beings, but the other 50% were brands, logos, companies, organisations, governments, media, etc. But now what we're seeing today is now it's only 9% that are brands, companies, logos, organisations, government, and 92% human beings. People follow people. Like Elon Musk has over 600% more followers than what Tesla has. Yeah? People follow people. We follow Richard before we follow Virgin, of course. And so then that begs the question, in this whole era of the thought leader, are you creating the profiles within your organisation? Those primary translators, which basically means you go out in the fringes, you find out all the information, what are the latest trends, and then you dissect that into bite-sized chunks. The media call it sound bites. Because if you're not building your profile within an organization, then a competitor organization is, and then all of a sudden everyone's listening to them and not you guys. Build a profile. This is your number one visual asset. Not your logo. It's your face. People follow people. And so these are the 3 areas that have really helped me in my journey, in and around from that first kairos moment when someone said, Sam, come and share your story. I believe our stories are our number one trump cards. And again, guys, I just really wanted to thank you all for coming along here today. It's been our honour and our privilege to host you, and we would love for this moment not to be the last time that we actually get to connect with you, because I truly believe that even though, you know, whatever your journey is, I truly believe that the best is yet to come. Thank you very much.